Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a horror film from the UK, English language, released in the year 2012, directed by Steve Stone, and this film is called Entity. And the story to Entity is as follows. In 1998, 34 unidentified bodies were found in shallow graves in a remote part of Siberian Forest. Despite subsequent police investigations, no official explanation was ever offered by the Russian authorities for these deaths. The case was closed 3 years later. In 2010, a small English crew from the Darkest Secrets TV program planned a trip to the site with a gifted psychic, whose extraordinary powers they hoped would shed some new light on the mystery. The last communication to their production office in London stated that they were approaching the Siberian region, where the bodies were found. Nothing was heard from them again. So the movie starts off with this documentary TV program from London called The Darkest Secrets. For this episode, they are going to venture out to the Siberian forest in Russia because they have heard of a strange event that occurred that resulted in 34 bodies, unidentified bodies, being buried in shallow graves. So this grabs their attention. They go to Russia with this psychic that is going to hopefully shed some new light on the mystery. But when they get there, things go very strange, and this is the last time that the production office in London hear from them again. Basically what happens, they get to the forest and they realise that there is a facility behind the forest that has been abandoned, that holds a terrible secret, and it may be haunted. So what happens that point on, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Entity. Unfortunately, this movie doesn't provide anything new, so if you're sick and tired of the found footage subgenre, then you're not going to like this one at all, because it is very predictable because you've seen it before. But if you're a die-hard fan of found footage, then I would think that maybe it would appeal to you. It appealed to me because I am a big fan of the found footage horror, but for me it was just a film that had nothing to it. It's very simplistic. It's a movie that is very low budget, so I can appreciate the fact that it looked alright for its money, but unfortunately it's a movie that just has scares. It has jump scares. It doesn't have anything interesting going for it. The side story of the Siberian Forest and these people who were executed, that just wasn't interesting to me, because there were some moments of the film that just took me out of it, because I thought, that looked absolutely ridiculous. This looked absolutely ridiculous. That doesn't work. This doesn't work. And constantly you're just thinking to yourself, well, it should have been done better. That this certain event should have been more interesting. That this place, the special effects could have been a little bit better. You're always pointing out negatives to the film rather than enjoying it for the positive. There are a few really scary moments, but unfortunately it just doesn't feel like a film that has a lot of passion. It feels like a film that's borrowing ideas because it's not confident in itself, and for that reason it's just dull. And as I said, you can kind of predict when the scary things are going to happen. You can predict what happens in the side story and who these people are. I thought the acting was decent, but they didn't have enough to play with. Very uninteresting characters, 2D sort of cardboard cutout stuff that you didn't really connect with them. You didn't feel for them when the frightening stuff starts to happen. I thought the runtime, it's a fairly short film, but it feels very long, so it does drag. And all in all, I mean, it is sort of a creepy film. The abandoned facility with the history, a very brutal history. I thought that was pretty cool. So the environment and the setting was okay. They did have creepy moments, and it was a little bit violent too. I actually liked the violence that was in it. It's quite hard hitting. But as I said, it just doesn't provide anything new. It doesn't really say, come out and watch me because you won't regret it. It's basically a film that you'll watch it, you'll think to yourself, yeah, that wasn't bad, but then it wasn't great as well. It's just a movie that is very forgettable. I thought that the sound effects, the soundtrack, as far as audio, was very soft in parts. A lot of these characters are whispering, and that really bothered me because I was trying really hard to understand what they were saying. And so that didn't work for me. I really didn't like that. And I thought the psychic lady was very annoying, so I didn't like her character. And because you don't invest any time in anyone, and you don't really invest your time in the scary moments, it's just a film that you could probably pass up on and you wouldn't be missing much. So this is unfortunate because I am a big fan of found footage horror films, but Entity, it just doesn't really live up to it. It's a movie that, it's not terrible. You'll see a lot of horror films out there that are much worse, but as far as something new is concerned, as far as something making you want to go and see it, it's just not that memorable, and in a few hours you probably forget about it. So this is another film that I would say a skip. As far as found footage horror films are concerned, there are some movies out there that are much better, much more creative, and feel like it has a lot more enthusiasm. But this movie, it just felt like it lacked confidence. It felt like it was a film that didn't really want to take any risks. It was playing it safe. in order to get a film together. And as far as low budget cinema is concerned, it is well made, but unfortunately it just doesn't have enough memorable quality for me to recommend this film. So overall for Entity, I'm going to give it 2 stars. Not the worst film I've ever seen, but certainly not the best. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.